speaker, and now author. And thank you so much for joining me for episode 3 of the Are You Annie podcast. If you're joining me for the first time, know that Are You Annie isn't just a question, it's an invitation. It's a recognition of the women who have lived the reality of narcissistic abuse and are ready to step into a space where they can be validated and inspired. Annie's story in the book Undercurrent is more than just one woman. It's the story of every woman who has ever fought to reclaim herself as she fights a control, manipulation, and self-doubt incurred in a narcissistic relationship. It's why this podcast exists. The Annies of the world are looking for a way to find themselves, reclaim their identities, and heal. Often, the healing doesn't come from words. It may not happen in a therapist's office or in a long conversation with a trusted friend. Sometimes it happens in the quiet of a horse stable, in a riding arena, where she can hear the steady rhythm of the hoofbeats. Then there's that moment in time. 1,200-pound horse looks at her, trusts her, and follows her lead. Not because the horse is required to, it's because the horse recognizes her inner strength and confidence. As we explore the power of equine therapy, we begin to understand how horses help women like Annie who are learning to trust themselves again. As we talked about in the last episode, the wounds incurred by narcissistic abuse aren't just physical, they're psychological. They leave you to question your instincts, doubting your decisions, and wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. There's something about horses, something powerful in the way they see you. They don't care about the lies that you've been told about yourself. They don't care about the past. They respond to what's real in the present moment. And that's exactly what the Annies of the world need. An honest, judgment-free connection that reminds them that they are worthy of trust. Now imagine this. You step into a round pen with a large, powerful horse. He has no reason to follow you, no reason to listen to you. But then something happens. You take a deep breath, you stand up tall, and without anything but your own energy and intention, that horse looks you in the eyes and he follows. For women who have spent years being controlled, manipulated, or made to feel powerless, that moment is more than just a connection. It's a transformation, and it's empowering. If you've ever been in a narcissistic relationship, you know the depth of the psychological damage and the fact that it doesn't end when you walk away. The self-doubt lingers. You question your decisions. You wonder if you can ever trust yourself again. Even the strongest, most capable women can feel paralyzed by the emotional scars. But horses have a way of bringing us back to who we were before the trauma was ever inflicted. Or maybe in helping us become someone we never knew we could be. I'm not saying to not seek out traditional forms of therapy. Talk therapy is valuable, and of course I encourage it. It's just that equine therapy does something quite unique. It bypasses words, and it goes straight to the core of what we feel. Horses don't care about words. They respond to what you bring into their space at that moment. They don't gaslight, manipulate, or ignore your emotions. They meet you exactly where you are, and then they mirror back what they see. For women who have spent years walking on eggshells waiting for that next outburst, a horse provides something rare: raw honesty. Here's what's fascinating: a horse won't follow someone who isn't sure of herself. And if you doubt yourself at first, the horse will show you that too. But when you step into your power, when you own the space that you stand in, something shifts. The horse starts to trust you, to work with you, to see you as a leader. And that right there changes everything. If a massive animal can recognize you as a strong, capable, and worthy of trust, maybe it's time you start to trust yourself too. One of the hardest things for women who have experienced narcissistic abuse is setting boundaries. They were trained to tolerate mistreatment, to push their own needs aside. But a horse won't let you do that. If you're too aggressive, the horse will walk away. If you're too passive, the horse will ignore you. But if you find the right balance, if you're clear, confident, fair, that's when the magic happens. The horse respects you and he'll listen. For so many women, that moment is the first time in years that they've seen what a healthy relationship with boundaries looks like. No punishment, no silent treatment, just mutual respect. Now, equine therapy just isn't about feeling empowered and learning leadership. It's about healing too. The simple act of grooming a horse, feeling the warmth of his coat, the steady rhythm of his breath, it regulates your nervous system. The motion of riding mimics being rocked, soothes the trauma responses in ways that words never could. And maybe the most powerful part, a horse doesn't care what you've been through. He won't label you a victim. He won't see you as broken. He'll see you exactly as you are in that moment. And if you are willing, he will walk beside you and help you rebuild. Like in this moment between Annie and Mrs. Hart in the book Undercurrent. So many people find that horses teach them things that they never expected. There's a very short excerpt in Undercurrent that I'd like to share, and here it is. "You're good with my boy," Mrs. Hart says. "He's special." Annie pauses and gazes into the pasture. "He has a sincerity about him that you don't often see." "It's you." "What do you mean?" "He sees into your heart and he trusts you." "That's quite a compliment, Mrs. Hart. Thank you." "You're welcome. You know, Mrs. Hart, I find it extraordinary how a horse instinctually knows what it takes a lifetime for a human to figure out. Have you ever wondered that? It's easy. Horses know nothing of status, accomplishment, or money." "Well said. If only people could learn to be so non-judgmental." Annie grapples with her words. "Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I've grown as a doctor since working with your horse." "I get it. He mutes my inner critic too." Annie smiles and nods. She appreciates the conversation. Horses just see who we are. And maybe that's the lesson that people need most. But let me be clear. Horse therapy isn't just about jumping on a horse's back and taking off. It's a structured, intentional process to be led by someone who has experience and is knowledgeable about the power of horses. If this resonates with you, consider looking into equine therapy programs in your area for you or for someone you believe could be helped by it. Whether you've ever been touched by a horse or not, there's something powerful waiting for you in that connection. And if you've already had an experience like this, I'd love to hear from you. Share your stories, share your moments of transformation. Healing doesn't happen in isolation, it happens in a community. It happens in moments we never expected, and sometimes in the quiet understanding of a horse who sees you more clearly than you see yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's episode sparks something in you, please share it in the comments or write to my private email, story@ruannie.com. Until then, take a deep breath, stand tall, and know this: you are stronger than you think. I want you to be tenacious and never give up on what's important to you. Thank you so much.